This is a redo of an earlier video. I did a video that went out yesterday, but I realised a couple of mistakes on there, so I've just done a redo, and whilst doing the redo, I've made it look quite a lot nicer. So hopefully we got it right this time. Here we go. We're looking at UK income tax and tax codes. So this will help you learn how to read your own tax code, what your tax code means in real terms to you, and what influence your tax code, things like that, and how that affects the amount of tax you pay. So a little caveat before we start: I'm not an accountant, I'm not a tax advisor, I'm not a guru, hence the name of the channel, and I'm not including national insurance in any of this. So we're literally just talking about income tax. So UK income tax bands, there are 4 bands. So you've got your personal allowance, which is the amount you're allowed to earn without paying any tax on it at all. And for most people, that's £12,500, but there are some things that can bring that down, which we'll talk about later. Then you've got the basic rate, which is 20%, and normally that's between £12,500 and £50,000. And then the higher rate, which is 50,000 to 150,000. And then the additional rate is if you earn over 150,000. A great website to use to calculate your own tax properly and to see how much you will get in your take home depending on your salary and your circumstances and using your own tax code is the salarycalculator.co.uk. I use it all the time. It's an absolutely fantastic website. It's all free, super easy. So I'm recommending that for you. Okay, one other thing that's not part of, you'll never see this included as an income tax band, and for that reason I'm calling it a stealth tax, because I really think it is. I've actually been caught out with this and I didn't know. I negotiated a job where I had to buy a season ticket for the train, so it's really vitally important that I knew how much I would have left, and I didn't know about this, and it had a huge impact on the amount of tax I earned. I actually ended up just very slightly better off in that new role, despite having a really quite a huge pay rise because of a couple of different tax aspects. But basically, if you earn between £100,000 and £125,000, your personal tax allowance reduces by £1 for every £2 you earn within that 100 to 125. That effectively means that in that bit of income between 100 and 125, you're paying 60% tax on that bit of income. Bear with me just for a second, because this leads into the next bit. So benefit in kind. Okay. So benefit in kind is any non-cash benefit of monetary value that you provide for your employee. So in my case, I had a company car, and the company, because of the company car, the benefit in kind value was £10,000 or £11,000. What HMRC do is take your salary and then add £10,000 or £11,000 onto it. That put me well into over the 100,000. I was only just under the 100,000 in salary. The company car put me over that. So on the company car, that portion, I'm effectively paying 60% tax on something that I'm not earning, because it's a benefit. It's not cash. I hope that makes sense, but it became very, very expensive for me to have that company car. I could have also had private medical cover with Bupa, but the tax I would have been paying on that just didn't make sense, and I effectively couldn't afford to have free private medical cover, and I couldn't really afford to have my free car, which I need to use for work, by the way, not a perk. Probably 15,000-20,000 business miles every year, so not a perk as much as a tool of the trade. Nice to have a company car, nice to have a car for the weekends and stuff, but I needed it to do my job. So bear in mind, benefit in kind, so things the company gives you as benefits that are not pay, may well end up on your P11D, which means you get taxed as if it's income. So you would need to speak to your employer about that if you've got any doubts, or maybe their payroll company, before you accept something, and that something could be a free gym membership, or medical cover, dental cover, company car, as I've said, all those kind of things, because it can make a real difference to the amount of tax you're paying and therefore your take-home pay. Okay, so just bear that in mind. So UK tax codes. Your tax code is used by your employer or pension provider to work out how much income tax to take from your pay or your pension. Your tax code usually starts with a number and ends with a letter. If you add a 0 to the number, it tells you your personal tax-free allowance. So for example, 1250L, which is the tax code that most people in the UK have, is £12,500 tax-free allowance. That means you don't pay any tax on the first £12,500 you earn. 350L is £3,500 tax-free allowance. So you're just taking that code and putting an extra 0 on the end. We'll talk about K codes in a minute, which are negative codes, and the K is at the beginning of the code. If you see a K at the beginning of your tax code, it means it's a negative. So that number, you still put the 0 on the end, but that's a negative amount. Okay, so it's minus £3,500 tax-free allowance if it's K350, for example, which means that you've got no personal allowance and you're already into the next band, and the next band comes on even quicker. You end up paying a lot of tax. So I've just put down here some common UK tax codes, but there's a link there to gov.co.uk tax-codes, and there's a much more comprehensive list of these, but I've just put down what I consider to be probably the more common ones. I could of course be wrong because I'm not an accountant, not a guru. So L is the normal one, which means you've standard tax-free personal allowance. The K prefix, as I said, is a negative tax code. You could get a K prefix, by the way, if the most common ways would probably be if your benefit in kind was higher than the £12,500. So say as your company car you had like something ridiculous, I don't know, a Bentley or something. You know, you're going to have a massive, that's going to be huge on the benefit in kind. So your K code is going to be quite a large number, because that's going to be way more than £12,500 a year on your benefit in kind. Probably an extreme example, but you get where I'm going, I hope. You could also get it if you haven't paid enough tax in a previous year and they're kind of claiming tax back from you. Obviously, it would have to be a hell of a lot for you to go from a 1250L tax code into a K code. You'd have to owe them, you know, upwards of 12.5 grand. So okay, and then you've got some other ones which are like BR, non-cum, W1, M1, X, which are usually signs of emergency tax. Emergency tax is usually paid when you go for a new job and you don't have a P45. So they don't know how much tax to charge you, and it often takes a month or 2 months for HMRC to work out how much tax you should be paying. There could be other scenarios around that, but that's often quite a sort of common one. And likewise, it could be you've just started a second job or something like that. But with all of those things, if you've got any doubts around any of it, always speak to HMRC. It can be difficult to get through on the phone, but they are generally really helpful when you do get through. And most of these things are common inquiries, you know. Okay, and then just some examples of the tax you would pay on some of these income levels with some of these tax codes. Just a reminder that national insurance is not included in any of this, so you'd always have to add national insurance on. So 1250L code, which is the most common one, you're paying nothing at £12,500 salary, you're paying 7.5 grand a year at 50, and on 100 you're paying 27,500. So when people talk about people not paying their fair share, big earners not paying their fair share, there are arguments for and against all this, and you know, it's not here to talk politics, we're talking tax. But when you look at that, someone earning 50 pays 7,500, someone earning twice that pays almost 3 times as much. So the big earners do pay a lot of tax. Okay. We look at the 350 there, so you can see, obviously, let's use the top level as the example. You're paying 0 on a 1250L code, which most people are on. But say you had a benefit that was worth sort of 900 quid, 9,000 quid. You're then paying £1,800 tax on that. Okay. And then the K code, which is obviously the negative one, 3,200. So all it's doing, every time your code goes down, it basically brings that next tax band closer to you. So you start off, you've got £12,500 before you hit tax. But if you've got a lower tax code, that amount just comes forward. So on the 350L tax code, you start paying tax at 9,000 at 20%. Your 40% tax will kick in that bit sooner as well. So it always has a knock-on effect. So just bear that in mind. That's it really. I hope that video answers a few questions for you. Tax can be a bit of a daunting thing for some people, and it's not always easy to get sort of simple advice. Particularly nowadays with lots of companies outsourcing their payroll, the person that deals with the accounts in your office may not have a clue about pay and tax and things because it's just passed over to a payroll company, and you as an employee might not have access to speak to that payroll company. Everyone can speak to HMRC, but I think if you just understand the basics of what your tax code is, how to read it, and what it means to you, you know, you're well on your way. And as I say, that website, the salary calculator, is absolutely brilliant. That does include your national insurance and everything as well. So you literally put your salary into it, put your tax code into it, and it tells you how much you're going to take home, and it's fairly decent. So if that's been helpful to you guys, please subscribe to my channel. The channel is all about money saving tips, getting you better value for your money, finding financial freedom, so ways of you know, paying off your mortgage a bit quicker, or maybe earning some money as well as your normal income, helping you to start or grow a business, taking your business or your blog online. I love technology, so there'll be some technology talk at times, and we'll also talk about how to avoid the sharks, because there are lots of them, and especially on YouTube. So people with get rich quick schemes and things that are always bullshit. And most importantly, we are honest. So everything you get from this channel will be honest advice. You know, you can agree with it or disagree with it, but it's my honest opinion based on my experience and my research over the years, and just my general sort of life experience. So as I say, agree with it, disagree with it, but it's always honest. And I'm not doing this just so you click on something and buy something from me. So yeah, so please hit the subscribe button, thumbs up. Really hope you enjoy the video, and hope to see you next time. Thanks.